Alright, I think we're live on the right channel this time, not on my personal channel. I'm a little washed out. That's okay. Send out some social media posts before I get started here. Whew. Logging into Twitter to see this shit show still going on. Come on. So we got some fight sticks that we're going to be soldering today, or not soldering. I've got some connectors that are maybe better as clip-on connectors, but we'll see. I'm going to just see if I can get this guy working, which I've never used before, the zero delay board. So once this is all wired up, then we can see how it works. So, cool. Cool. Close Slack because it's resource intensive. All right. Nice to get away from Twitter for a second. Yesterday was wild. I was going to do this yesterday, but got glued to doom scrolling and wasn't great. Felt pretty bad all day yesterday. So, using today as an excuse to just kind of get away from the world and do something else other than read the news. So, yeah. So, yeah, if you're just dropping in, this fight stick is one of two fight sticks from our auction. And it turns out one of them doesn't have a microcontroller. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wire up the zero delay, and we'll see if it works. I've not used one before, but maybe it's better than an Arduino. Who knows? All right, so first things first. This has a lot of just solid core wires going on here, and I don't really want these. So I'm going to desolder them all, and we'll see if we could start from scratch. Also, I want to test these buttons just to see if they still work. They seem fine. These aren't great parts. We built these maybe like 4 years ago, but I think they'll do the trick. Usually these things hold up pretty well. So I'm going to fire up my soldering iron. And, just as a reference point, we've got our other fight stick here. This guy has a little bit of structural damage. This has to be re-glued. So I'm going to take care of that afterward. This box, this one is all together. Neither of these have a bottom because these were meant to be sort of prototypes where we would just demo games. So once this is all wired up, I'm probably just going to attach it to the inside somewhere here, and we'll run the USB cable out the back. So nothing terribly fancy, but if anybody is building, you know, an arcade interface, this will maybe be what you need. So I'll grab some wire cutters, some wire strippers. I don't know if I even need these today. But first things first, I want to get rid of all of these wires. So I'll grab my soldering iron and just kind of start desoldering. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want to maybe use these tabs. I could also just cut these all, but I think this might be a better method ultimately. So let's see what happens. I'm also going to consciously not look at Twitter. So if there's anybody who wants to talk about the news, drop it in the chat because I'm not going to pay attention right now. Yesterday was a lot, so I'm going to try and just stay away for a minute from the nonsense in the government. It was funny, I started yesterday calling out Cuomo about, you know, the indoor dining rules, and little did I know how crazy it was about to get. Huffing some rosin fumes. I do have a little ventilator off camera, which I would advocate because you don't want to breathe this crap in. It's not good for you. These are a little annoying. Yeah, all those poisonous fumes always have some kind of smell that you're like, maybe this isn't bad, I don't know. Don't breathe in solder fumes, though. It's bad for you. All right. Get rid of all these wires. I'm going to start from scratch. Might have to clean some of these up. All these solder bulges. Let me grab that little desoldering pump here, especially for these areas where we've got a lot of solder. So this is a joystick, if you couldn't tell from the underside, and there's 4 directions, and you can see these switches get pressed when this joystick moves up, down, left, and right. And there's 3 pins. The one is ground, and then this pin is normally open, and this pin is normally closed. So basically, when this isn't being pressed, these 2 are connected together. When it is pressed, these 2 get connected together. And so we're just not going to use this one. I have no use for this switch when it's not being pressed, so I'm not going to solder anything to it. So we're using the ground and this pin. So let's got a couple more wires to remove. This one's going to be a little annoying because I can't really get in there. I might have to kind of fish these guys out. Never thought I'd be desoldering this, so maybe I can just... It's a little better. Uh-huh. The worst smell when you're soldering is when you touch this rubber because it really creates this kind of awful fume of, well, burning rubber, which you might be familiar with. It's not great. All right. Cool. You might be wondering why this fight stick has only 3 buttons, and that's because unlike your traditional fight sticks, which are built for like Street Fighter or a fighting game, these were built for indie games, and typically a lot of the games we're demoing don't really have more than 3 buttons. And for arcade building purposes, you don't really need more than 3 buttons anyway. I'm actually going to cut this one. I think it's going to be too hard to try and get in there. So yeah, these 2 fight sticks, they were first demoed on Kung Fu Kickball, which is a game by Whale Food Studios, Jonah Wallerstein. And we, at the time, were talking to Jonah about building an arcade cabinet, and so we're going to refocus that. And so I wanted to just see how Kung Fu Kickball would feel with a legit fight stick. And it turned out pretty good. It's a pretty good arcade game. So we used these a couple times, but whenever we brought them to a showcase, it always involved kind of on-the-fly programming and testing and, more trouble than it was worth. So they kind of sat around in storage for a while until now. End up melting these switches. You don't have to solder fight sticks, and maybe that was a mistake the first time around. The board I'm going to use is actually not solderable, so I'm just going to actually try and clamp all of these wires on and see how it works. Hopefully I don't melt too much of this plastic, but I think we're in good shape. All right. So all these are pretty good. There's some solder bolts that I might try and remove. Solder balls, solder lakes. Just because I want these to be as free from solder as possible. I'm using a desoldering pump. You could also use some solder wick, which I might do if I can't get all this off. We'll see what happens. While we're soldering, there's a really funny meme that was going around with like a COVID circuit that was getting embedded in people when you took the vaccine. And it turned out that was just a schematic for the Boss Metal Zone, which, man, it's too funny to be real. Like, I can't imagine that was created by someone who, like, actually believed it was in the vaccine. So good job, troll, whoever did that. That was one of the funniest things of a week, which was overall pretty disturbing. I already forgot about it. I feel like I was doom scrolling all last night, and I was hope scrolling the night before, and my sleep schedule has just gotten way off because I'm glued to Twitter in bed. All right. All right, this feels pretty good. I think these pins are pretty clean. Let me just move this joystick around and make sure I can get them all. Cool. And obviously, even though this is a 4-way stick, I can go diagonal, and it's going to press 2 switches at the same time. So, feels good. All right, so let's move on to these buttons. This should be a little easier. I'm going to take these wires out. Now, arcade buttons they come in all shapes and sizes, but these sort of are the standard arcade button switches. You can actually pop these out and replace them. I don't know if it's necessary. We're going to test them, and if they don't work very well, I will replace them. But these fight sticks haven't had beer spilled in them, so I think we're in good shape. Now downstairs on all of our arcade machines is a different story. Now what I have going on here is, these wires are just individual ground wires connecting all the button grounds to each other. The board I'm going to use, though, doesn't have a master ground, so I'm actually going to do it a little differently, which is why I'm desoldering all of this. Really, all of this work is because of the microcontroller, and if I was going to use something like an iPack or an Arduino, I might actually leave these wires intact. But since we're trying something new, let's see if it can work better. Sometimes the solder joint is a little tough, so I'm going to add some solder to try and melt the old solder. This is a solder trick. Add some new solder. Melt the old solder. Comes right out. Now, downside is that I have to now remove all of this solder, but not the end of the world. Cool. Nice. And the last one. So this is upstairs at Wonderville. If anybody's wondering where this is happening, during the pandemic, our workshop was forced to close. So we spent the summer building a workshop at Wonderville. There's an electronics bench, a wood shop, and I think I'm going to spend the winter months, since the bar's closed, maybe running some streams out of here, working on various arcade-related projects. I don't want to turn into a stream guy, but if you got things you want to see built, let me know, and I will consider them. Although maybe everybody's a stream guy now. This is the world we live in. Alright, let's clean up these tabs a little bit. A little wire under here, and I should remove this because you probably can't see it, but it has the potential to touch the pin underneath, and that's no good. So add some new solder to melt the old solder, and there it is. Cool. So, zero delay. This is a microcontroller that is pretty cheap, actually. It's sold on probably Amazon and other places. It's built for arcades. And like I said, I've not used this before, but how I understand this works is it's an HID device, human interface device. And when you plug it in, it should read as an Xbox controller, or a quote-unquote gamepad, which is a generic input device, sort of like a keyboard or a mouse. The computer will recognize it as a gamepad. USB-B, so it's pretty easy to interface with. And I've got a lot of inputs here, but the first thing I want to do is my joystick. And I took a look at the documentation for this, and it looks like I have a couple options here. If I look at the back of this, it kind of tells me, what I can use to plug in. Here's A, L, A, R, A, D, A, U. That's analog, left, right, down, and up. And this is a 5-pin connector because it has ground. So some joysticks come with a 5-pin connector that you can just plug directly in to this port. As you can see, my joystick does not. It just has a bunch of switches. So luckily, I have these same pins across the top, left, right, down, and up, and I'm going to use these to connect my joystick. And on each port, there's 2 pins, one for the actual input, and the top one is for ground. I don't know if you can kind of see that, but all of these pins are connected to the ground plane, so I don't have to worry about grounding all of the pins. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out some of these wires that came with this, and we're going to start wiring them up. Let's just focus that again. Okay. So these come with the zero delay. They've got this plug on one side. This plugs into the board, and we've got these crimp connectors on the other side. I'm not the hugest fan of crimp connectors. As you can see, I had just soldered this in the past, but I'm going to try it and see if this is actually going to work, because, not having to solder things is sometimes nice. Also, I don't think this matters too much, but I should figure out which one of these is ground. Blue and white are not the usual colors, so in order to figure this out, I'm just going to plug it in. So let's start here. So blue is on the inside, white is on the outside, and I knew from looking at this that white is the ground plane. So it looks like on these connectors that white is going to be ground. And I actually don't think that's true across the board. Oh, what's up, Nick? Trying to escape from the hell internet for a minute. All right, anyway, white is ground. Let's do it. Okay, also, let's see. This is left. And this is what I'm really bad at thinking about, is which way is actually left on this joystick. So when I press left, which is me pressing right upside down, it's going to hit that switch. So this is my left. Welcome back to New York. Nick, sorry, there's a coup. World is weird, That's maybe an understatement, sorry. I'm not going to talk in platitudes on this stream. All right, cool. Let's do the right. So right is going to be this guy. Might be a little tough to get in here. Let's see. Cool. Yeah, what's going on? Did they do the 25th Amendment yet? I'm consciously not following. How are those? It's pretty good. Something that maybe I don't like about this is that, you know, these are just like press-on, and they're supposed to be pretty solid, but I don't trust it, you know? Solder is so permanent. These are also all the same length wires, which is funny because I guess they presume that your whole fight stick is the same distance, the microcontroller. Let's see, I've got these bundles. I'm going to open these and see if they're different sizes. You would think. They're all the same length. All right, got another bundle. And all of them are exactly the same. So, you know, word of warning if you buy this. Try and place your board in a place where it can reach everything. I'm going to wire it up and see how the cable lengths are. I might end up soldering this thing after all. We'll see. All right, next is going to be down, which is there. This is down. My favorite thing that happened yesterday on Twitter is somebody posted a tweet that was like, "Stop! This is a water break. Stop doom scrolling. Go get a snack. Get off Twitter." So I was like, "Thanks, random person." This pin might have a little bit too much solder on it, but it's on there pretty well. So I'm just gonna keep on going. All right, last one. Process of elimination up is going to be there. Oh, this is going to be so fun. Ooh, a vodka break. I'm not so big into vodka. I don't know. Maybe it was from drinking it too much in college or not being, I don't know. Maybe I'm just not drinking good vodka. All right. This is too much solder. All right, this one might be a lost cause for two reasons. One, I have a feeling, well, this will be long enough. All right, so congrats, we're doing some soldering. These pins are too close to the wall. I don't want to remove this. I could probably take this off, but I just don't feel good about this clearance, and you know what? It's going to be fine. Soldering's fun. Let's solder. I hear you, man. There's so much drinking and not enough moving in all of 2020. I feel like, I don't know. I like beer, but I need a break. Maybe just from drinking altogether. Although it's like really hard to go through a day like yesterday and not drink at all. Alright, so I stripped the ends of these. I might actually tin them with solder just because, you know, it'll be nice to have solder on them already. Space here. Walk more, less beer. Yeah. Yeah, it's weird to like come into a new year when essentially like the same bullshit is still happening. But probably it's nice to have some optimism, even if there's no reason to. Solder the end of this one. And I'm doing this because these are stranded cables, and if I try to push this through a hole and it doesn't go through, then I'm stuck with like a bunch of strands of wire, and no one wants that. All right. So I'm going to do blue first because I think it'll be easier to get in there. This is going to be a little awkward. Let's see. Because these had solder on them already, I'm going to try to heat that up and then push this through the hole. But with the angle and the room I have, this is going to be a little tough. Nick, how's Duff's doing? I'll check on my favorite bars and notes. It's tough. It's tough to be a bar. Duff's is great, by the way, if you haven't been there. It's in South Williamsburg. Marcy and South 5th, I want to say. Great. It's like a goth metal bar. There's a giant wheel you could spin that gives you prizes. It's a good time. And if you like bars or restaurants, go support them. Oh, that's good. All right. Marcy between Broadway and South 5th. Cool. That was very close. Okay. So those are all the joystick directions. I don't love this wire, but as long as it doesn't get caught on the joystick, which I've got a lot of clearance here, I think it'll be okay. All right. Okay, so let me get rid of my clamp here for a minute. So I'm going to look at the bottom of this zero delay again. I've got a lot of places to wire up these buttons. I think I want to start from here. This says K1, if you can't see it on the camera. K1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Select start 11, 12. So I've got up to 12 inputs I can use here. I don't know why they're labeling select and start. It doesn't really matter. But I want these buttons to be a little bit 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to wire them up like that. And the cool thing about these is I can actually spin them to face the right direction. So I think what I want to do is rotate these all so the pins are facing this side, because I think this is probably getting mounted down here. So let's do that first. Let's get you out of the way. And what I'm going to do is just loosen these washers and kind of spin these all around. Of course, a little close together. So I'm going to pop that out. The last one. All right. So, got these all facing the right way. Let's pop on some wires, and we'll see how these pins are going. Now, on this side of the zero delay, I think the colors are reversed. Now, again, I don't think any of this matters because all that this thing cares about is that two pieces of metal get connected together. But I just have this innate urge to like make sure the grounds are connected to the ground pin. And actually they are. It's the same wiring on this side. So that's good. Consistency. So white is still ground, and blue is signal. So let's do it. Again, if you don't have sloppy soldering on the pins already, this process is much faster. You too can build your own arcade stick. Okay, so that is going to be K1. Pop that in there. Okay. This board is starting to get a little tough to work with. K2. And K3. So there's really only 7 inputs on this entire board, which is pretty easy. This one's a little tough. I'm going to have to get some more solder off of that pin. Let's see if we can do it. Blue first, maybe. A little tough. The nice thing about doing it this way is if a connector breaks, you can just pop it off and pop a new one on. Or a button entirely breaks. Okay, so that's everything. Now, there's a little bit of garbage in here. I'm just going to kind of dump it. And I need to have little metal shards in here. And I probably want to affix this somehow. This is the most obvious place to me, which means when I plug this in, it's going to go in this direction. USB port looks a little pulled up. That's okay. If I had planned this better, I would have had an exit hole, but that's okay. These are prototypes anyway. So mounting this, usually I would use little screws here, but I actually was looking for these last week and I couldn't find them. So we're going to use the next best thing. Hot glue. The essential staple for any good electronics workbench. Yeah, that guy knows. Look, if it's not visible and you're going to use hot glue, totally fine. Open up some old electronics. You'd be surprised how much hot glue you find. And, you know, it's not conductive. It's removable. It works great for a circuit board, you know. I can pop hot glue on this. It's not going to mess it up. If I need to pop it off, I can just use a little screwdriver and pop it off. It doesn't, you know, it's not a permanent affixtion. Affixtion? Yeah. Downside is we gotta wait. We gotta wait for this hot glue to heat up. So yeah, if you're just joining, this is one of 2 fight sticks that we have from our auction that were won that are getting picked up. And these were built a couple of years ago. You could see the top is laser cut. We have a little DBA logo in the corner. And then this bottom box I made with a pneumatic staple gun that, oh man, what a great tool. It was in our old shop, but now that shut down, we no longer have any pneumatic tools, which is a bummer. Milwaukee, please sponsor us. Or DeWalt. Or Akita. I'll take any of them. Anyway, so turns out this particular fight stick did not have a microcontroller, so I'm putting in this zero delay, which actually I've never used before, but it seems to be a popular controller in the arcade community, so we're going to try it out. All right, so gotta do it quick. Stuff dries real fast. So I'm doing it out over to the side just so I have some room to plug the cable in. I don't really need to get in to the right side, so just want to make sure that this works. All right, so we're in. Before I flip this over and start testing, I think it's probably wise to clean up these wires. Let me unplug this glue gun first, so it's not dripping everywhere. And where are my zip ties at? I think they're in the shop. All right, let me go grab them. Until we get a camera in the wood shop. I'll be back in a minute. All right. The old canister of zip ties. It's Radio Shack brand. R.I.P. Glue gun out of the way. Now, I said I wanted to clean up these wires, but I actually might want to plug this in because if it doesn't work, I don't want to have to get back in here and cut all these zip ties. So, let's do a test. All right, so we're going to plug this in. This is a really long, for no reason, cable. All right. So, we're plugged in. What I'm going to do is bring up some software to test my gamepad. Just flip it around. Let's see. I'm on a Mac, which isn't great because I have to install some drivers. Let's see if they have any recommendations. I'm going to read the instructions. Well, this isn't the right set of instructions. That's really fun. It's funny because this is like meant to work with RetroPie. But it should work with other stuff. Compatible systems, PC, laptop, Windows, Raspberry Pi. So let's do a little bit of research here, and I want to see if actually this works with Mac. I wonder if I'll actually be able to test this. I'm sure I just have to install some drivers or something. What say you, Reddit? I mean, since these are traveling to someone, I could probably just double check that they have Windows or Raspberry Pi. I can also just pull up any game, and this should read as a gamepad. Let's see. Also, you know, I've got a PC behind me. That might be an easier way to check. Let's try that. So, flip this over here. And let's see if I can just, this might be a hard camera view. All right, well, we're going to spend about a minute testing this out on Windows. Let's go into set up USB game controllers. I know there's like something in system preferences that will show me where to go for this. Let's see. So, go in devices, USB joystick, and I get a, we've got a USB joystick in here. Okay. No. All right, I'm going to Google this. I forget how to do it. Let's see. Windows test USB gamepad. We're on Windows 10. Yeah, that's what I thought. Set up USB game control. Properties, here we go. All right, so I don't think you can quite see this because this camera's not great. All right, you're gonna have to take my word for it. I'm just gonna test. These buttons are all good. Directions are good. So I feel good about it. I'm going to come back to the Mac and let's pull up Steam. I'm curious just to see if this is going to read at all on OS X or not. Because it's a generic gamepad, I don't see this being an issue, but I know Mac has got a lot of issues with drivers for gamepads especially. So let's see if we can make it work. Okay, so let's get rid of this browser window and we'll pull up Steam. No, thank you, Steam. I do not want to participate in the survey. Okay. So what I want to do is pick out a game that I know will probably work with this. Let's go Abs versus the Blood Queen by Bumblebear. This will be a good test. They recommend fight sticks anyway. Can I blow you up in this window? Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. So Abs versus the Blood Queen, Killer Queen, Devs, Gyro, Dexter, Josh, and Nick. So let's just see if this works on Mac with the zero delay. Just gonna kind of. Okay. I mean, it works. Curious to see how well this is going to run. All right, here we go. let's play. Okay, first thing I notice is that gotta press these a little harder than I'm used to. Oh, we're moving so slow. I have a feeling this is because I'm streaming at the same time. But the good thing is that this does seem to work. Yeah. Skipping frames like crazy. Okay, let me see if I can do this again. Is there anything else I can close? Let me close Discord. Try and get some more optimization here. All right, let's try this again. Mark Cleave Fight Stick Edition. You know, I'm confident that this would work if I was not also streaming off of the same computer, which is great. So let me close this. And I think I might want to load up a less processor-intensive game. Also, maybe a game that uses more than just one button. Let's see. Funny, I may not even have. No, Lovers in a Dangerous Space-Time. Maybe not less processor intensive. Gamepad recommended. So a lot of these games are remote play supported, which is cool. This is something I just learned about, but apparently there's a lot of Steam games that are multiplayer that you can play remotely, which has been a cool quarantine discovery, because usually a lot of these games are local multiplayer. You have to be in the same room. Let me try to get this over to the right screen. Here we go. All right, Lovers in a Dangerous Space-Time is like, if you haven't played it, it's a fantastic game. Let's go back. Let's see if my joystick works for selecting. It does. Can I go back? Do I have a B button? That'll be interesting. Seems that my joystick works in here. But maybe these buttons don't work. And it really has to probably do with, you know, what they are mapped to. See if I can map them. Connected gamepad's unknown controller. All right. All right, so let's do this. Action 1, whatever that is. Action 2 is that one. I don't have 4 buttons. I can't space pad. I don't know if these are gonna work actually, which is okay. You know, this is a prototyping board, so I'm not terribly concerned with it. I think, you know, if someone's familiar with gamepad settings, they can maybe customize this. It would be good to know like what these are. Let's see. Oh, I can just positive button 0, so I can reset them. Cool. Use my keyboard. All right. Sorry, Space Pet, we don't get that. So, back. Saving now. Are you a back button? Hey! Let's check it out. Sure. I'm going to do 1-player mode. My computer's chugging a little bit because I'm streaming, but I think this is going to be a little more forgiving than Abs vs. the Blood Queen because it's not like an endless runner where I have to jump on platforms. Probably doesn't help that I'm starting on like level 6 or whatever, but we'll see how it goes. Taking a while. Okay, here we go. All right, so this is my setup screen. I don't know what the Y button is. Is this the Y button? X. Cool. All right, that worked. Forget what to do. X. Right. Oh, but I have to light them both up at the same time. Hold Y. I can't. I don't have a Y button. I'm sorry. Oh yeah. Battle Mace. Can I touch both of these at the same time? No, probably not. All right, let's go back. I don't know if I could actually play this game because I'm missing a button, but seems like these three are working. Metal Jam. All right. As much as I'd like to play through Lovers in a Dangerous Space-Time, I feel good about this fight stick. So I think it's time to zip it up and move on to the second one, because I could spend the whole rest of the day playing video games, you know? Or doom scrolling, whichever one. All right, let's close down Steam. Actually, I'm going to leave Steam open because I probably want to test the other stick as well. Let's flip this over and we'll zip up these wires. Not going to be a whole lot of tidying up to do. I can probably just bundle these together. I'm not going to go super tight because I just want to make sure that these don't get stuck in the joysticks or anything. These are also maybe a little bit in the way. Kind of want to zip tie them off to the side. This is a case where I might like zip tie this to like a screw or something just to pull it a little bit out of the way, but I think with this bundle, all I want to make sure is it doesn't interfere with the joystick, so I could maybe even try to tuck it behind these pins, and that might do the trick. Now that I know everything's working, the wires just have to get out of the way. So yeah, it's pretty good. Obviously, if this were a pro build, I would have a bottom on this. I would probably have this port up against the edge so that I can just plug the USB in from the outside. This build was for prototyping, so I'm going to leave it go. And maybe the person who got it will be interested in hacking it and adding their own microcontroller. Who knows? So yeah, let's unplug that. And maybe I'll do a little cleanup on the surface of this. It's been in storage for quite some time. So, you know, it's a little beat up, but it will do the trick. Piece of DBA arcade history. All right, so this one feels good to go. I'm going to put it off to the side, and we'll start looking at the next one. Box number 2. I know it looks like exactly the same. So this one does have a microcontroller in it. Let's take a look. So this one has an Arduino Leonardo. And last time I checked, this thing was working pretty well. Let's see. I'm going to need a USB micro. Not to be confused with a USB mini. Tricky thing about the USB micro is sometimes there's no data wires because they're phone chargers and you only need power and ground. So I've plugged in many a USB micro cable and had it do absolutely nothing, which is a great time. Just kidding. It's not a great time. I'll move this over just a hair. I can reach the hub. Okay, so I don't know what this was programmed to do, and because it's an Arduino, it could be sending key commands, which isn't great, because then I could potentially, I don't know, be typing something. So I'm going to pull up a text editor. And I'm going to just see what happens. All right. Are you doing key presses? No, you are not, which is great. This is a great sign. So I think the next step here is to pull up some Arduino software and see what this thing is actually doing. If I were me 5 years ago, I would have programmed this thing to spit out serial commands. So hopefully I did that. Blind text. Let's just minimize it for now. All right, Arduino. It's taken a while. Oh yeah, Nick, is it the USB micro cables? They're the worst. How much does it cost to just put in 2 more lines of copper? So I'm opening up Arduino, and this is the Arduino Leonardo, which is kind of a weird board, and I think they discontinued it. And if you're familiar at all with Arduino, you're probably familiar with the Uno, which is their, like, most popular, most accessible board. If you don't know the difference between Arduinos, you probably are familiar with the Uno, because that's the most common one that people, use. So the Leonardo is special because it has onboard HID. It has the ability to be a keyboard, mouse, gamepad. And I don't know if there's a current model of Arduino that has HID on board. I know that Uno does not. So if you wanted to build a gamepad with an Arduino, you have to do a little bit of workaround. But for this one, which conveniently, the sketch that I pulled up here is Leonardo controller. And before I read this, I'm just going to open up the serial port. Oh, right. Make sure I have the right board, which is a Leonardo. And the right port. Don't see the port. That's cool. All right. Port is not available. Interesting, interesting. Let's see if this is the right port. Okay, so the port is busy, which isn't a good sign. And like I thought, nothing coming through. So let's just figure out what's going on here. We're using pins 2 and 3, and then skipping 4 and doing 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So let's see what goes where. Looks like 2 and 3 are joysticks. I don't know why we skipped 4. This is not the right. This is not the right sketch. Let's see if I can find it. And I guess I'll see if I can make this a little bit more clear while I'm poking around it. You know what I'm going to do? I'll just pull up this as a separate window. Okay. I'm going to rearrange this for a minute so it's easier to read. Cool. Okay, so let's see if we can figure out what's going on here. I have a bunch of examples here, and I just kind of want to see if, well, you know what? I don't even need to necessarily go through my examples. Controller, Leonardo controller, plywood controller. Are you the one? Plywood controller seems like the right one. All right. This is not quite the right thing, but I think it's pretty close. Let me just switch my sketch. Okay, so this is a sketch written for Arduino, but it was for a larger system. So let's just change some things here. We don't have a player 2, so I'm going to delete a bunch of these. First of all, I'm going to save as, let's just call this fight stick. There's a good chance this code is written somewhere, but I can probably modify this. Okay. Include keyboard.h. This is important because this is going to make it a keyboard device. And maybe I want it to be a keyboard first so that I can make sure everything works before I make it a gamepad. Also, can I make it a gamepad? I forget if it works on Leonardo. This might only have keyboard and mouse, which, you know, could be a funny USB keyboard with 7 keys. So, all right. So, okay. The pins that I'm using are, pin 2 is up. Cool. Let's see. Pin left is 3. That's there. Pin 4 is not plugged in. Did it break? Down is actually going to be 9. Fine. 9 it is. And then right is going to be pin 5. Okay, so these are all correct. I'm just going to comment out the code that we're not using. We don't have player 2. And then our buttons are blue, red, and white. So I'm actually going to keep those consistent. Let's see. They're actually in the order of 6, 7, and 8. So 6, 7, 8. 6, 7, 8. Wow, this is all correct. I don't have a black button, so goodbye. And that's it. We're going to just get rid of the rest of these. Okay. So, up, down, left, right, and blue, red, white. Not the neatest looking code, but it'll do the job. Debounce 100, little long. This is in milliseconds, but I'm going to keep it. Debounce is essentially when you press a button in code, it is the time that the code will ignore that input because sometimes when you press it, you get some electrical pulsing. So you want to kind of ignore maybe 100 milliseconds after the button press, just so that you're not looking at that. Again, 100 is kind of long. I might drop this to 50, but let's see how things go. So I'm going to set all these up as inputs. I don't need player 2. They don't exist. Sure. I don't need player 2. They don't exist. And I don't need a black button because it doesn't exist. This is based on an old arcade cabinet we built called Boxy, which was essentially built in 2 hours and made to look as ugly as possible. And it looks like I probably ripped the controls out of Boxy to build these fight sticks, if I know myself. And we don't have a starter, so. Okay, so we do keyboard.begin. That begins our keyboard polling. And then these are all the key commands I'm able to use. Up, down, left, right, shift, alt, escape, backspace, tab, insert, delete, page up, page down, home. This is just in here for reference in case I ever wanted to use these kinds of keys, I know what to use. And the rest of my keys I can just put in single quotes. So, player 1 up. If digital read equals low, then we're going to key press the key up arrow and then delay. So essentially, if I press up on the joystick, it's going to press up on the keyboard and then delay, and then else it'll release it. So I have to call, for every time I call keyboard press, I have to call keyboard release. And it looks like I was organized back in the day. So same for down. That's great. This is pretty much going to be the same code with all of the different inputs. And yes, if you're programming, you could do this as a string and do it in a loop. There are more efficient ways to do this. Okay, left and right, they all look good. Is this all going to break? It might. Let's just do that. Don't need any player 2s. White button presses J. Black button doesn't exist. Blue button presses L. And red button presses K. So J, K, L are my 3 buttons, and the rest are my arrow keys. So let's comment out all of player 2's buttons. We don't need them. We don't have a start select. And that is it. Oh, so low. Low, in digital circuitry, you have a high and a low, which is like positive 5 volts or 0 volts. It's all binary, right? So in the Leonardo, it's looking to see if the signal is connected to ground, which is low. So when you press it, I think I can use a 0 here, and it would work the same way. But this is just Arduino speak for, is it connected to ground? You can, if you put high there, it would look for it being connected to the 5 volts. All right, so let's program this. There's a good chance I made a dumb typo because I didn't check the sketch first. This is dangerous because obviously anything you hook up to an Arduino that you then make a keyboard or a mouse could just take over your computer. It's less dangerous on a keyboard, but I've done things where I've made some kind of like air sensor, a mouse, and then I have to like, your computer's just unusable after that because the mouse is just flying around. You can't control it. So, okay, it's not finding keyboard library. That's not a good thing. Let's see if it works. I may not have it on the right port. We'll see. I'm also using a USB hub, which isn't great. might be part of the reason. We'll see. Steam is yelling at me. What is that? All right, so we're not uploading, which means this is taking a long time for what should be pretty quick flash. Let me just reset the Arduino on the board and then run another upload. I have a feeling because this is HID, that could be why this is not handling this really well. We'll see. It's also possible that keyboard.h is deprecated. I haven't used this in a while, so. Yeah, so this error looks like a serial port error. Let's see. Let's see what I can do here. I'm just going to pull up Google and just find a keyboard example. See if I'm doing this right. These header files sometimes change, and what I did 4 or 5 years ago may not work anymore. All right, what are we doing here? Keyboard, keyboard.press. Does that exist? All right, so let's do this. Something I typically do is we'll pull up a basic example, and we'll get that working, and then we could work up to a bigger thing. Keyboard. Keyboard and mouse control. Okay, I'm going to switch this to this example sketch. Okay, this is a pre-made Arduino example for keyboard and mouse control. Let's see. Controls the mouse from 5 push buttons. The mouse movement is always relative. Warning, when you use mouse move, the Arduino takes over your mouse. make sure you have control before you use the mouse commands. Yeah, so I might ignore the mouse stuff, but let's just see here. Up, down, left, and right. I already set these, so let's just use the same ones. 2, 9, 3, 5. Do I want a mouse button? Sure. I guess my first button will be the mouse button. All right, fine. Inputs. Initialize both keyboard and mouse. So basically what this does is it uses the serial port to move the mouse. So like I can type up UDLR to move the mouse 40 pixels in any of those directions. So -40 on the y-axis, +40 on the y-axis, -40 on the x, +40 on the x. If I press M, it will click the mouse. But then down here, if I press up, down, left, right on the joystick, I will print UDLR on the keyboard. So this is more what I care about. So again, let's see if this works. I'll just program this. Now, I just pulled this directly from the Arduino example, so if this doesn't run, then I think we have a bigger problem, and it might be our USB hub, which I don't know if I can fix at this moment. Although, of course, one way to see if this all works is just to make it do anything other than press a keyboard or mouse. I was a little worried about this, that, the Arduino Leonardo, being an older board, got deprecated as the Arduino software gets updated. There's probably a reason they removed the keyboard and mouse functionality, and I wouldn't be surprised if that is what is breaking. Let me just try and reset this port. I wonder if I can get it going. Maybe I'll go directly. It could be happening too. This could be one of those mysterious USB micros without data. So let's swap that first. All right, I have these long braided cables, and I know these have data. I've used them before, so I'm going to try to reset this Arduino connection and see if that's the problem. Hey, I can't believe it. This was the issue. I even said it, but I bet this is one of those micro USBs that doesn't have data. I should throw this in the garbage. Unreal. At least label it. It's funny that, people refer to these as Android chargers. And it's like, yo, this is also a fucking universal serial bus. I gotta use it as such. All right. We're gonna program this. Yeah, you're right. You know what? I'm going to throw it away right now because got no use for this nonsense. And it's not like I'm not swimming in USB micro cables. Oh my god! Well, it works. It's one letter away from just writing murder. How long do I let this go on? I'm going to unplug it. Wild. Alright, I don't give a shit about this anymore. The trick here is I have to program this when none of the inputs are being pressed because it's just going to do this. Okay. Back to the fight stick. All right. I know this is going to work. If I plug this in and it starts spitting out letters, then maybe there's a bigger problem. Let's see if I can get it. Oh, there goes murder. All right. This is a problem. This is the problem with having the Arduino take over your keyboard. So let me see something here. Are we all grounded? I feel like maybe we're not totally grounded. Oh, yeah. There's a ground wire that is missing. So I think I figured out what the issue is here. This is not grounded, which is my down switch. This is grounded. This is grounded. Okay. So I have to solder this. This is ridiculous. Let's just solder that, and then we will hopefully be in good shape. While my soldering iron heats up, I have to delete about 1,000 MUDR letters. Wild. I'm also going to maybe take a multimeter to this and just do a continuity test, because it's like, shit should be grounded, you know? Okay. So, let's hook it on here. I have this strange recollection of this happening at like Cloud City when we brought these there, and there was like no ground wire, and I didn't have any solder, and like Jeff Seal gave me a paper clip to be a ground wire, something real dumb. All right. So I'm not completely crazy. Let's do a little continuity check here. So here's ground from the Arduino. None of these other things are grounded. Good, good, good. Feel like a real amateur on this video. Okay, so as soon as I plug this in, shit's gonna get wild. So I'm gonna try and plug it in and hit program right away before anything happens. Because as soon as it becomes a keyboard, it's gonna get crazy. Still going. Couldn't find the port. Whew. This is like a comedy of errors. Because I can't program it without it being plugged in, but I can't plug it in without it being crazy. So it might be that I have to unplug all the wires before I can try to program it. Put this back. Let's put this dumb thing back. I think what I might have to do here is unplug all the wires from the Arduino, program it, and plug them back in one at a time, just to try to make this reasonable. I may have frozen the Arduino software, which is wild. Oh, man. How is this still happening? We don't have anything plugged in anymore. Not like the whole... This is disconnected. Oh, man. Wild. Okay. You know, Arduino isn't software that, like, takes up a lot of memory here, but it really feels like it's running worse than, like, Streamlabs. Maybe I could just quit. Although, I don't remember if I saved this. I would like to save this before we do anything. I must have saved this. Yeah, right after I renamed it. Okay. All right. Okay. Great. Oh, man. Or maybe this all just got built up in the serial bus. Okay. We're going to save it. And just going to try this one more time. And there it goes. You know what might work here is adding pull-up resistors to the pins. I don't know if it's supported on the Leonardo. It is certainly supported on the Teensy microcontroller. So if I was going to do this today and not try and resurrect these old fight sticks of yore, I would probably use a Teensy because it just works better. All right. All right, so what we're going to do here is just unplug everything. I don't know of another solution, but this seems like the way to go. If there's nothing going on, then it can't spit out any cereal, right? We're going to pull out all the wires and put them back later. Still streaming? Cool. This Arduino is really testing my limits of this computer for some reason. Okay. All right. Even my Twitch is like, stop it, I hate it. Whew, dropping frames like crazy. Okay, so if I do this one more time, I feel like it might crash, but let's just try it once more and see if I can get it. Nothing is plugged in. Should be able to just program this without it doing anything. So, oh, interesting. Couldn't find a board on this port. Let's just see what I have selected here. Leonardo. Huh. Let's try that again. So this bit of code, input pull up, this allows the Arduino to connect these pins to the high, or the 5 volts, when nothing is pressed. So basically, instead of getting like mistaken key presses, I can ensure that these buttons stay high unless they get pressed. So, awesome. Okay, I'm not getting any mess here. So now, I'm just going to plug everything in one by one, and we're going to see what happens. All right. Twitch is broken, so I'm sorry if you're in the chat. My content is unavailable. Maybe it's because I have such a bad stream, because I keep messing up my computer. Could be. Could be. Well, hopefully this optimizes a little bit. Let's start with ground. And I'm just going to pull up Arduino so I remember where these all go. So down. Oh wait, down is 9. There we go. Okay, so Oh, good. So we're doing up, down, left, right arrows, which is great. Less likely to mess up my computer. Up is here, which is where? You? You are too. Is Twitch dead?